Hey, if you're a fan of Led Zeppelin, I think you're really going to enjoy this video I have for you today. You know, we've been meaning to make more Led Zeppelin videos simply because the Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary is out and so many people are talking about it. And so anyway, we're going to do another one today and maybe another couple over the next week or so because we have so many super interesting things. And the thing I have for you today is so cool because what this is, it's a newspaper article that came out not long after Led Zeppelin I came out. Of course, they're out playing now. And it's a guy that wrote an article and he talks a little bit about how he didn't like them and then what caused him to eventually like them. It's just kind of cool listening to this guy go through this process or what it was that got him. And that's why I thought you would like this today. Now, and by the way, also, I hope you'll hang around to the end of this video, especially those of you that watch these videos on a regular basis, because I have just a little message I want to share with you when I get to the end. So, and this isn't very long either. And I think you'll, again, if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, you will really enjoy what he has to say here. So I did a little bit of research on this guy that wrote this too. This is from the Star Ledger, March 16th, 1969. And so to put this in context, the album Led Zeppelin I, which I actually have out here, this is kind of my old beat up copy of it, came out on January 13th of 1969. So basically this is 2 months after the album's out. And this guy, his name is George Kanzler Jr. I did a bunch of research on this guy, and it seems he was kind of a music critic, music writer, but his main thing seemed to be jazz. And so it kind of makes this even more interesting that this wasn't necessarily, at least as far as I can tell. It's I do some research trying to figure some of these things out, but it doesn't seem like this is his kind of thing anyway, really. But now, so watching this little explanation of why he started liking him is pretty cool. So the title of this article is Zeppelin Finds More Because It Looks for Less. And then he kind of goes into what he means by this. And like I said, it's pretty interesting. So here he goes. Heard Led Zeppelin live about a month ago. Wasn't very impressed, to say the least. Just another British soul group searching for roots in the blues. Or so I thought. But I was wrong. Led Zeppelin, as presented on their new album of the same name, which is, of course, the one that I've got out here, is the best hard rock group to come out of England in a long time. They resemble more than slightly many of the newer rock blues groups from Britain, like Jeff Beck and John Mayall. The group's built around Jimmy Page, a guitarist who followed Eric Clapton in the Yardbirds. Page produced the current album. Page is also the creative center of the group. It all revolves around him, songs, arrangements, ambience. Led Zeppelin isn't doing anything new or groundbreaking or daring. And maybe that's the whole point with hard blues rock. Perfection, not novelty or innovation. Okay, now, this is where I find this super interesting. When you look at Led Zeppelin later on in their career, you really couldn't say that. But something that's so fascinating about this point, and he's going to go into this a little bit more, but they were getting back to, it's almost like saying getting back to core principles. They were creating something that was this organic piece of art that anybody could relate to. And one of the things that I want to point out before I get into this next paragraph where he really gets into this point is it says perfection, not novelty or innovation. When you look at something that they talk about in Becoming Led Zeppelin, they talk about the first tour that they went on and who they were playing with. And if you've seen it or if you know Led Zeppelin history, they toured with Vanilla Fudge. And one of the things they point out is how John Bonham and Carmine Appice, who was the drummer for Vanilla Fudge, of course, John Bonham was the drummer for Led Zeppelin, how they became really good friends. And Carmine Appice was a showman. When you see some old footage of Vanilla Fudge with Carmine Appice, it was almost like he's going, I know all you guys are in front and everybody's watching you, but I'm going to make sure that everybody's watching me. And he had that. And John Bonham had a little bit of that in him too, because the drum solo was, it was amazing drum solo, but you know what? he played with his hands too. And of course, at the end of the solo, the big gong. And part of that got all of us as kids talking about the show that these guys would put on. And Bonham was a showman in that way. Well, but the point I wanted to get to here, when it says not novelty or innovation, it's a contrast with Vanilla Fudge, who they toured with. Because Vanilla Fudge, although they did have a few of their own songs, they were really known for taking songs that already exist and just rearranging them and changing them and presenting them in a way that was almost totally unrelated to the original song. They were all about novelty. They were all about innovating new ways of taking old songs and doing new things with them. And if, by the way, if you want to get a sense of why Vanilla Fudge was popular and why people loved him, go find the song "You Keep Me Hanging On." That, of course, "You Keep Me Hanging On" was a Supremes tune, but Vanilla Fudge took it and they just did their twisty, changey thing to it, and they played it on the Ed Sullivan Show. Matter of fact, I'll make sure that we put a link to that down in the description. You need to watch Vanilla Fudge do the song "You Keep Me Hanging On" the Ed Sullivan Show if you want to know why they were popular. It is so awesome. It just totally shows you this is Vanilla Fudge at their best. And you see Carmine Appice and the other guys in the band. And in some ways, even though they were serious musicians and they were doing cool stuff with the music, there was a ton of novelty in what they were doing. They took Eleanor Rigby, for example, too, the Beatles tune, and they just turned it into something almost unrecognizable and weirdly cool at the same time. But it's interesting, the contrast, because if he saw them live, it's very likely he saw them with Vanilla Fudge. And that's why I'm mentioning this. And they talk about this in the movie too, the tour. But because Vanilla Fudge was all about that novelty idea, even though I don't want to knock their music. I'm sorry for people that are being offended by me saying it's novelty, but it was unique. It was something that was novelty. Ultimately means new. They're taking something old and they're just rearranging it, changing it up completely. And that was the novelty aspect of Vanilla Fudge. But he comes in and says, but Led Zeppelin was not that. They were taking the blues and they were doing it to perfection. And that's what he puts here, not novelty or innovation. They weren't trying to just totally recreate everything. It was they were getting back to basics. Now listen to what he says next. This is so important, I think, when you're talking about this idea. And they're refreshingly free of any message. No equality, no drugs, no revolution, not even an obeisance to soul so prevalent in their contemporaries from England. Okay, now, why is this important? When you think about the time period, this is written in March of 1969. We're 4 months away from Woodstock. That is the mindset of the world at the time. Okay, and that's why he says this. No equality, no drugs, no revolution. It was kind of like so many bands, so much music, so much was just pounding out all of that stuff. And he comes in and says, this is refreshing because they've gone back to basics. The simple thing that we love about music, Led Zeppelin is bringing to us. It is something that is universally applicable in its simplicity of message and its simplicity of presentation by just making it great music. It's such an important thing to remember, because so often when you watch the pendulum of music specifically, you see it so often, it has to go back to that. And you find these bands that pop up every once in a while and succeed wildly because they walk in the moment where everything is chaos and they go basics. And these guys did that masterfully. Now, of course, over time, talk about innovation. They became one of the most innovative bands ever. And that was part of their greatness. But it's just interesting that this guy had this observation. Okay, now, continuing. Take the songs on the new album. All but 2 are by Page, with or without other group members. The other 2 are Willie Dixon's You Shook Me and I Can't Quit You Baby. And so here's the song list, and I've shown you this before, but there's Willie Dixon. And when you listen to it, I mean, go back and listen to the Willie Dixon versions of the songs. It's not like they totally reinvented it. They just reinterpreted it, but still reinterpreted it. They reinterpreted it, but stayed with its core feeling. Okay, so now this is the important part right here. This is where he kind of really brings it home. Every one of them deals with that classic blues and early rock theme. Love, unrequited, soured, physical, profane, revengeful, anguished, passionate love. It's such an important thing, getting to those basics that everybody understands. And he comes in here and says, these guys are not about novelty. They're taking things back to basics. And what are they writing about? What are they writing about? What are these songs about? They're about that universal thing that everybody understands. The challenges about it, the difficulties, the wonder of it, all of it. That's what they're bringing to us, which is what the blues at its foundation is about. And so many of these other songs on this album are all about. And then he goes on and says, the lyrics are good, the message unambiguous. Your time is going to come, which is one of the which is one of the most awesome songs on this album. It's right there. Your time is going to come. Has lines like, I can't feel you anymore. Going to make you pay for that great big hole in my heart. Again, it's these messages, these universal things that everybody gets. Everybody feels, everybody understands. And it was just such an interesting observation this guy had where he was able to look at them initially and go, just another one of these, and then stop back and said, now wait a minute. Maybe they're not just another one of those. And then he had this interesting interpretation. Okay, now he keeps going though. Robert Plant's voice is adequate. Okay. Subdued like Tim Hardin. All out screaming like a lubricated Mick Jagger. That goes on a t-shirt. Lubricated Mick Jagger. But it's really true about Robert Plant because he had that ability to have that Tim Hardin kind of really soft spoken kind of beautiful singing voice, and then the all-out screaming like a lubricated Mick Jagger, and you would find that all over both things on this album, which is spectacular. But the most remarkable thing about the voice is how it becomes another instrument in the group, especially on You Shook Me. Plant and Page's guitar share a rare intimacy akin to musical incest. Man, when you get a good writer on some of these articles, it's so great listening to this. And it is, and You Shook Me, that's one of those that goes down where you find these articles where people are reviewing this record, and that's brought up a lot, where that thing where they interplay with each other. And Robert Plant was spectacular at that. It somehow making his voice, the call and repeat and the way he would take his voice and turn it, as he says here, kind of into the fourth instrument that was going on stage. And he was and it was interesting because he did that. He brought that to the table on this first album. And the same thing kind of came into the second album. But when you start moving into that third album, you can hear his voice maturing. Because the same voice that you hear at the end of Stairway to Heaven, when he is just belting that out, is not really the same voice on I Can't Quit You Baby. It's the same guy. But when you get into Stairway to Heaven, I know that's such a trite song to bring up because it is so obvious, but that when he sings that stuff at the end of that tune, it's undeniable. It's just one of the greatest vocal performances of all time. You can hear the maturity. you can hear the time that has passed. And actually, it wasn't a lot of time that passed, but you can hear the growth just in that short period of time between this album and by the time Led Zeppelin IV, or the Untitled album, or whatever you want to call it to be technically correct, before that one came out. You can hear the development. And it's just interesting to note that. But he puts in here that what he sounded like, and he did have that kind of sound. I love that lubricated Mick Jagger, intimacy akin to musical incest. And the whole group is so tight, an orchestrated quartet. They make every number a miniature production, complete, finished. Jimmy Page's guitar work is the main reason for the feeling of completeness, continuity on each cut. He holds it all together. He's not jagged like Johnny Winter or angular and sharp like Clapton. His solos flow out of the song. On all counts, Led Zeppelin is a very special album. And that's the end of the article. But think about that statement, again, in the context. This album, when he's writing this, is brand new. It has been out for a couple of months. It's easy for us to say right now, that was a special album. But at the time, people really saw that. They put this thing on and there was something different about it. And they could feel it. They could sense it. Because think, Led Zeppelin II is not out, Led Zeppelin III, Led Zeppelin IV, none of this stuff existed, yet the guy was able to listen to that and go, as he says right there, on all counts, Led Zeppelin is a very special album. And indeed, he was right about that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this stuff. I hope you enjoyed that video. And I wanted to share one other thing really quickly. And I know we have so many people that watch these things and we have so many followers on this channel. Sometime today, the day that we're filming this is, we're actually filming this on the day we're putting it out, which is February 24th. It's the morning of February 24th right now here in St. George, Utah. At some point today, our subscriber count on our channel is going to surpass 10,000 subscribers. Now, we started this channel back in 2017 as a little marketing tool for a business that I own called Audiomover. And we just mainly used it to put little tech videos and little marketing videos. And back in late October this last year, and every once in a while I'd make little videos about records and things just for fun. And it was just kind of a little fun thing that I would do, and we would use it for marketing. This last October, I looked at the channel and I thought, I think people would be more interested in some other things that we have to talk about, to kind of remind ourselves of the amazing stuff that so many of us grew up during, the music that shaped our lives and what have you. And so I just started making a few videos just to test out and see what kind of response we would get. And we have been, the last few months, averaging over 2,000 new subscribers per month. And first of all, I thank you so much for doing that, for following this channel, for regularly coming back, for all of your feedback, for the comments that you make, for the emails that we get, for the contact. I mean, so many people are contacting us now, and it's so interesting. And I am so grateful that we're seeing that stuff happen, that we're having this kind of growth. And like I said, by the time this video is out, we may have already passed the 10,000 mark because we get so many subscribers now. But as we move into past this, we had actually set this 10,000 as a goal. That once we hit that, once we realized how quickly this was growing, that after we hit 10,000, we were going to start doing some new things. One of the things that we're going to experiment with, and I'd love to get your feedback on this idea, is having a live show where we're going to possibly be doing something maybe in the evening, where we're going to have different people in here to discuss things and look at old records and do some of the other stuff that we regularly do here. But we've noticed that a lot of the people that watch this show, one of the things that really, really surprises me is that a lot of people that watch this show watch it on TV. not their computer, not a mobile device. Probably more than half of the people watch it actually on a TV. And we thought this might be an interesting thing to actually have a nightly show where we do something similar to what we do in these things that I do. It's one of the reasons that I've had Gary come in and do a few of these little shows, because we were experimenting with this idea of what would that look like if we had a group of people and had some fun doing a live event, and then would take people's comments as they were coming in. And anyway, we have a bunch of ideas, but I'd love, first of all, to get your feedback on what that would be like for you, if you'd be interested in something like that, and what time would be good. This is, we're experimenting with a few ideas here. We obviously, there's people interested in what we're doing, and we want to make that grow and expand that. And so anyway, that's one of the first things we've got coming. And we've got a bunch of other ideas that we're experimenting with right now. But I just mainly wanted to express my appreciation for all of you that follow the channel, for all of you that go out of your way to go share this on your Facebook pages, to go email this to other people, because we see that those things are happening. And just, again, thank you so much for doing that, for helping this grow. And what I'm hoping we do is really provide a place for us to not just reminisce, but in a way preserve the stuff that we lived through. These things, this amazing music from Led Zeppelin, going into through the 70s and 80s, even into the early 90s. That stuff that shaped our lives and the experiences that we had at a time that was unlike any time before, and probably unlike any time in the future, when great change was happening. And it's my mission and goal here to just provide a forum where we can remind ourselves of that, relive it in some ways, and maybe more importantly, preserve it. And that's what we're doing. So we appreciate the support that you give us by following this, by watching these things, by commenting and liking and all that other stuff. And we've got a whole bunch of other things that we're going to be experimenting with in the near future. So stick with us. We really appreciate that. There's a lot of really awesome stuff to come. And again, I thank you. And please, if you're not following the channel, please follow the channel and like the video, and leave us your feedback down below. There's a lot of different ways to get a hold of us, but it really, just leaving the comments down below is helpful, simply because YouTube sees that people are interacting with the video. But anyway, we really appreciate that again. And so with that, have yourself, as always, fantastic day.